Preview.
Hi lovely people, welcome to the Sit and Chill show. As always, we talk about trending issues, we dissect policies, talk about issues bothering around the youth, and we get different perspectives on it. And we are joined here today by three wonderful people. And Zeke will go ahead and introduce them, but I'm Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us.
So my name is Zeke, and on this show, it has no formula. We talk about it as it is, getting the youthful vibes, how the youth sees these issues, and how we go around it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will mention your name, what you do briefly, then we'll set the ball rolling. So, sir.
Okay, so my name is Yao Sechi, and I'm a forensic analyst by day and a CEO by night.
Thank you. Sir.
My name is Eben, President of Cubic Group.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm Eunice, and what do? I'm a tour guide, basically at a historical museum in Takrade. So I'd say I'm Elena.
So thank you all so much for joining us on the Sit and Chill show. So please, there are drinks around. When the issues are getting a little bit dicey, then just lay back and have some drinks and chill.
All right.
So I think we are ready to go. Right.
Yes, please. Number one issue trending this week was the SHS students that were complaining.
The WASI students who want to abolish, or what they want to do?
We had students that were insulting our honorable president, which it was very daring on their part, But I'd like to get your views on it as well. I'm sure you've heard it going around.
Are you seeing the videos circulating on social media?
Is it personally? I think some of these issues should delve all the way back to what's done on radio. Because as much as we all know, we've all been to secondary school, as much as we all know that the radio and phones are gadgets that are banned in secondary school, we know we have them, we keep them in our cupboards and whatnot. So
you keep yours in school.
Honey. So we do keep them. And so we hear and we listen to the radio. So what are we listening to? What do we hear on the radio? I know since this whole issue came out, a lot of people, especially those of us not in school anymore, older people have come out to express disappointment. I'm sure some have even gone all the way to disrespect the parents of these students.
Yeah.
Are we not being hypocrites in a way? Because I mean, since the first president of this republic, people have been disrespectful to not just politicians but the president. That is not to say what these students have done is right, no. But before us adults or us the older people, before we go ahead and rebuke these students and chastise them and say that they should be expelled, which we all know will affect their future. I mean, I think that part is wrong. Before we do that, we should look close to home. What do we do? Even if you are not going on the radio yourself and disrespecting politicians and whatnot, what do you say at home about your leaders? Because that's what the children pick.
Information we feed them is
Exactly. Because if I'm at home and you're my parents and you let me get away with thinking that it's so comfortable to use
foul languages again.
Exactly. That's what you're teaching me. Everything begins at home.
So it's like my understanding is what you're saying is like these students are picking up from the things they hear on radio.
Absolutely. We learn from our surroundings, home, what we hear our teachers do at school, what we are listening to on the radio. And politicians are always foul to each other on radio. Okay. So if this is a medium that students are exposed to, that's what they're learning.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think I have a different perspective on that, actually.
Yeah, sure.
In the sense that there could be people from good homes, but yet still they will do these things. You know, when you go to the senior high schools, I'm sure we've all been to the senior high schools, you know, sometimes some treat you pick up, it's not from home. and it's so evident you didn't learn it from home, it's from school. So I think there should be some sort of character management in this context, because
like very true. I get, sometimes we get parents coming to the secondary school
exactly
to visit their sons and daughters, and like you mentioned that we had this thing. They
don't even know your names.
So it's true that
I think
some of these students don't pick it up.
in my senior high school, we had a similar trend. I went to a boys' school, St. Peter's Senior High School, and apparently almost everyone in the school had a nickname.
Had a nickname in SHS?
I had a nickname. Everybody had a
What was your
nickname.
nickname?
I was called Bill J.
Oh, okay. I
So-
didn't have a nickname.
One time my daddy came looking for me. He was like, I'm looking for Bright
Bright
Sechi.
Sechi.
That's my school name. And they went like, who is Bright Sechi? Who is Bright Sechi? Who is Bright Sechi? And so one of my mates who I was in class with met him and was like, oh, Bill J. So you can just imagine. So these are,
Those students should be punished for what he said.
well, that act is strictly wrong.
So wrong.
And I will never endorse it.
Yeah.
I totally condemn it. And I think that it's very important that these young people coming up begin to realize these things, because they are our future.
Of course.
So just imagine if your future is behaving like this, then what holds for your future? So it's very important that we let them become aware. And the decision the GES made was quite on point, but I realized the president had to come back to tell them, to allow them to write their WASI and still hold on with the necessary. Well, I mean, he's trying to be a good father, because that's what a good father would do. It's always important to give people the second chance, because if we don't allow them to write WASI, it means their future is totally doomed. And I think it's a good thing from the president, and I commend him for that. But their act is totally wrong and should never be accepted
And for
anyway.
the record, it isn't all the schools. Yeah, some
Exactly.
schools are really doing well. We are not hearing those issues from those sides and all.
Exactly.
I think like social media is now like playing a part, and it's quite evident that it's everywhere. Because if you go to a good school, people complain about WASI all the time. But we always get these elite schools that are okay, like the questions were things that they had like hands-on practice in classrooms and all that.
And I mean,
As much as people are trying to challenge the whole thing, people are actually learning. Because during my, let's be real, during your WASI days, were you playing?
no.
I think these things are emanating from the fact that they were home for some time, and most of them were not making good use of the time.
Exactly. And you see, the interesting thing is, while some people are complaining, others are happy
Good.
because the questions they learned came. You see the difference between the two?
Sure.
So it's not as if it's an entire body of senior high school students. It's just a few who were not happy with the kind of questions that were set. And
It's
as a result of
always
that,
there. You get,
they
like,
acted that way.
Those schools having students complaining about WASI all the time, but it's because social media is very common now. Now we can see them actually complaining, making videos of themselves and posting them, everywhere. Like maybe 10 years back, you wouldn't have this. But because like phones are very
so
common,
cheap.
Yeah.
we can like see them complaining and then posting.
But I think we should focus more on the motive. The motive behind it.
Behind it.
Why they made that video.
Yeah.
What went wrong? What happened? They were saying that, I think it was the science paper that were complaining that they learned and they didn't see
What they were expecting, didn't.
yeah.
I mean, are you serious?
But like,
As a student?
as a student, don't blame the authorities who are trying to put you to test that what they have brought is not what you learned.
Yeah.
You are supposed to learn everything.
Sure.
Exactly.
So no matter what comes, violence doesn't solve the issue.
Not
If you have a problem with it, after your exam, then you go and address it.
Thank you.
Peacefully, because you damaging school property, you
And I think there are
causing so much chaos.
SRCs in the
It's
schools.
just-
So they could make use of the SRCs.
Yeah.
Why do we have these representative bodies in the schools? They could make use of the SRC.
But final year students are really a whole mood. If you could recall,
That's-
being in final year, I mean, you're like, no rule exists for you, right? So please, we would like to end on this note that we are also against the whole thing.
I would like to add a little something to what you said. Like I was saying, it boils down to addressing the issue of whether they are being hypocrites or not.
Yeah.
And then along the line, we mentioned, you said something about the first verdict, I think having them dismissed, you actually mentioned that you thought the president was on point, which I think is completely wrong, because we all know where, if your education is cut short, I think we all know where you go from there.
Yeah.
Because of the kind of society, the kind of community we're growing up in, where about almost every parent in the community are growing in thinks that if you're going to be something in future, it's in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So if truly we are trying to raise responsible citizens, right? We are all headed in a certain direction as a community, as a society, as a country. And we believe that it's by passing our citizens, our students, our pupils through the classroom that we get here. And then someone makes a mistake. We are all admitting these are children, these are young people, and then they make a mistake, and you think it's by giving them the option of short sleeve or long sleeve. Are we really going in the same direction? Because even at home, there are certain things that ways that parents bring us all up. They feed us the same foods, they feed us the same morals, we get the same punishment for certain things. By the end of the day, you will find one sibling who is consistent with a certain thing. No matter how, if they commit to this level today, you give them about this height punishment, the next day is like, yo, they're all the way up there. It doesn't mean you're not punishing him, you're punishing him all right. But does it mean that this particular child of yours, this sibling, you're cutting them off completely and say, because you've consistently done this up to various heights, there's no longer any food for you, you don't get shelter, you don't get this, I don't care about your education. If you go wrong, no. You don't do that. And so if indeed we are a community when, like we used to have in the olden days, when you are growing up, the whole community, the environment is responsible for bringing you up, then cutting them off and saying, because you've done this, something that everybody admits to do in their own homes, they're just not stupid enough to broadcast it. They have done it. So let's cut an education that we believe as a country takes you to your future. You should cut that thing off. Then I think we need to go all the way back and look at what our aim is individually and as a people, where we think we are going. Because if this is what we actually believe should have been done to the kids, then a lot has been said. I think it's wrong.
On that matter, we are extremely grateful. So moving forward, we all know that we are not in normal times, and as youth, during this whole COVID era, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So many people have been laid off, and it hasn't been easy. So we just want to find out what ways and means we are trying, what things are we putting in place to keep body and soul together? What are we doing as youth, during this time? Like, are we doing things to get extra money? Those who have lost their jobs, how are we keeping that? Right?
Well, your question is very, very
dicey. It hasn't been easy. On that note, it hasn't been easy.
But I think we've been surviving on our savings. The upcoming entrepreneurs, they've been surviving on their savings.
Okay.
Those who have lost their jobs, probably the tourism sector and other sectors, the transport sector as well. Most of them are surviving on their savings because this is the new invisible evil that we have. It has come to stay, and we have never experienced this before. And we are just trying to do things that keep body and soul together. I don't know for her sector though, but I think she has a lot to say. But me personally, I've been surviving on my savings, and at least some restrictions have been lifted. So business is now picking up, but it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy.
Okay, so from my point of view, I think with the aspect of financing, okay, it's such a crucial thing to always be mindful of. As a business, there's something that, let me use my personal business for example. There's something that I always do. We're a young business, but then we try to always go ahead of time, to plan ahead of time. And I believe there are most businesses out there that are also doing same, because you can never tell what is about to happen. For example, like COVID. Nobody planned it. Nobody could think of it. And there are major giants that have come down as a result of this COVID-19. The businesses that I noticed were doing so much well within this COVID period were the businesses that had online focus.
The tech space.
The tech spaces. You see, if you had a business and you were just dealing with traditional marketing, I'm sorry for you.
That is.
Because traditional marketing it's not going to stay for long.
Yeah.
The world is evolving.
Yeah, so like necessity is a mother of
Inventions, exactly.
Well, for one thing, I think this era has taught us to prioritize and save.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that we are living on our savings. True. Like a lot of us are doing that for like over 4
months.
years. You know, it's something that wasn't expected.
Yeah.
And I know most people like blew their savings during
Trust me.
Christmas.
I mean,
did.
and that's very bad, you know.
We did.
We were not really grouping
Let's not
it.
keep for we did. We weren't expecting that COVID will hit us like this. We blew our savings and then in hopes that in the coming year I'm going to work my ass
Exactly.
build up my savings, and then this thing happened. So for one thing, I think it has taught us to prioritize and save more.
Yeah.
You know. And I really hope we don't pick up from it.
And I think during the lockdown, I mean, there were some statements. I was hearing some people make some comments, and I was touched. Some young men around the Choko area, they were like, they live from hand to mouth. And if the country is locking down, I mean, how does the president expect them to leave? And I was like, wow. I mean, this is the moment where people have to become aware of the fact that, you know, you don't have to live from hand to mouth. I was reading a book, the 7 Principles of Success by Michael Ajekumado, Kama, CEO of Kama Groups of Company, now Michael Ajekum Groups of Company. And he said something. He said before he started his first business, he was earning 60 pesos. Olden days, 6,000 cedis.
6,000.
He was earning 60 pesos. And he was able to save 20 pesos every month. Even though he had responsibilities, he was able to save 20 pesos every month in order to start his first business. So after some months, he put the money together and started his first business. So just imagine, maybe you are not earning much. Maybe you are maybe these people might be earning like 10 Ghana cedis or 15 Ghana cedis a day. You can, if you're earning 15 Ghana cedis, you can put aside 5 Ghana cedis, spend 10 Ghana cedis. Just calculate 5 Ghana cedis for a month.
So you think
that is enough money.
Saving,
Is it
good saving.
Exactly. We need the habit of savings. They spend more, and some people even spend more than they earn.
Some people even spend the following month's salary.
You know, that kind of thing.
COVID is like an opportunity that hits us. But sometimes, like, I'm just grateful for the experiences and then the things that we are learning as we go. IT is becoming like top notch because people are getting more, like they are advancing themselves when it comes to IT. Now, other parts of the world, they are, they are able to create things, but Ghana is far back. We don't make use of this technology. I think social media is
the vice president is really doing a good job, trying to help us with the digitization.
Digitize the system.
Yes.
People are doing this now, which I think is like the positive part we can do.
So now telemarketing is like one thing that we should actually...
Perfect. Now you can just be in your room and then reach out to 2 million people. I mean,
you
just imagine.
Ad boost.
Thank you.
Just everywhere. So we can finally ascertain that as youth during this time, we all know we are not in normal times, but in our small ways, we can try and find some things doing. Maybe you see, this is actually the time where we should have learned.
Handiwork.
What was the word? Handy. Maybe if we had things doing with our hands, maybe soap making, that and that. That would also fetch something into because most offices and most firms have laid people off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think during this era has actually taught us wise saving techniques. So I
Exactly.
think when things return back to normal, I think we are all trying to
How to do businesses online.
yeah, how to actually
COVID-19 has taught a lot of people how to do business online.
yeah.
Trust me.
So that was a very wonderful conversation. And please, we are still sitting and chilling. Please, with your drinks. I think mine is almost done. Yeah. We'll be back after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
Alrighty.
Right, so we are all welcome back to the Sit and Chill Show. We've been here with our brother, Mr. Bright Sechi, Mr. Ebenezer, and Miss Eunice Amwedu. Right.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about issues making waves on social media for the past month and so. So Eunice, you made mention of social media, as in these internet and radio stations, the things that they are teaching our children, because you can see most of these issues that have been happening, how the youth have been acting lately, are all due to the devices that we have and the information that we obtain from them. And Ebenezer, you also said that these social media can be platforms that these students can learn some handling. So as they are coming home as they are completing SHS, how is the internet going to play a role in their lives, in shaping their lives, with their lives after SHS? Right.
Personally, I think as much as, yes, I did hint on the fact that a lot of stuff out there on the internet, on the radio, and maybe television goes quite the long way to influence what we pick up growing up. I think majority of it is also more about, is it self-identity or self-actualization, something we learned in social studies. So I do remember back in tertiary, I watched a film. There was a series, Zane's Sex Chronicle, something.
Yeah.
I watched with a few of my friends. So at the end of the day, there were some things that I was just rolling in my head thinking about, okay, I need to, my character needs to become more like who this person is. I allowed myself to identify with certain things that personally, I know that even though this is not who I am out there, this is actually a side of myself buried inside that I would like to put out there.
Sure.
So I think that is how I identified. As much as all that stuff was going on, there was a lot of sex, and it was very exposing. A different person sitting right next to me picked something completely different.
From what
she picked that she has to absolutely stay away from sex before she gets married because she doesn't want all these things. So it's at the end of the day, we were two people sitting behind the laptop, but it boiled down to who I was as a person, who she was as a person. In the morning, every day on the way to work, we are in the car. There's my sister, my dad, and I, and the driver, and we're going to work every day. And there's a lot of vulgar language from politics and people that you expect to know better. And personally, I just tune off because politics is something I actually don't want to get into. And even when I do get into it, I know what I pick from it. And then there's what my dad picks from it, and there's what my sister picks from it. So I think it boils down to who you are as a person.
And the information you...
No matter what your age, because there are people that make some very smart decisions and they're really young. And then you turn on the radio, you turn on your television, you go on the internet, and you see a full-blown adult, and they're putting all this stuff out there. And you're like, are you serious? I'm 16 and I won't do this.
I need to chill on that.
That's so true. Like, I totally agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
It all boils down to who you are.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things I have seen growing up. Like, there are a lot of movies I watched as a child that my mom has no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and we like people pick up on these.
And these are things you're exposed to. By the end of the day, you pick what you want to pick from it. So just because I watched Zane's Chronicle doesn't mean I'm going to become like the character that was sleeping with everybody. And at a point, she met one guy, and he was like, I don't remember the face, but I remember he said something nasty. Just because I'm watching that film doesn't mean I'm going to identify with that character. At the end of the day, I know where I think I'm going in life, and I want to identify with something that strengthens me but still spices things up a bit for me. So if you are just like the cotton wool and we say something attentive note and you don't know who you are, then definitely Hamatan will blow you somewhere, the rainy season will come and the floors are wet everywhere and you'll be stuck under some mud somewhere because you don't know who you are.
You'll be fence sitting.
Yeah. So I mean the information out there will only go a certain way to influence you if you allow it.
Okay, so let me just chip in something to add, top up what she said. You know, when you read the Bible, okay, somewhere in Romans chapter 12 and verse 2, he says something about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. You see, the kind of information that comes to you is very vital. It can determine what you'll be or what you'll not be. You understand? So with respect to what she's talking about, you know, the kind of information that are exposed to these people, for example, like what she said, some politicians can actually go on radio. We always hear it a lot of times. We see it a lot of times. They go on radio and they say things and you are behind your TV or your radio and you are like, really? Like, seriously? Like, are you really saying that? And they're expecting you to understand them as they are because they are politicians and they have every right to say it. But you know what they don't know is they are training these young people with a particular kind of mindset.
You have a point.
And they think you know, exactly, indirect mentorship. And it's like when it happens like that, it makes it quite I don't really know what kind of words to use because we are live. But it's not so right. It's not so right because, you know, as they keep saying these things, there are people who see them as mentors. And if I see you as a mentor and I see you talking anyhow, I mean, trust me, for me as a person, I'll cut you off.
For me too, I get exhausted.
Exactly.
Exhausted.
Do you think that you don't know enough to make a decision or make a choice from it? Because as I was saying that I've watched a lot of movies, it doesn't mean I portray those things.
All those things.
Do you think they have, like, they know enough, they have this deep thought to understand that I'm seeing this on TV, I'm seeing that people are wearing this, people are doing this on TV. It doesn't mean I have to do same.
Yeah.
They have that.
I think.
Okay. So with what you're saying, okay, let me just give you a simple example of I mentor some girls at McGee's, okay, on entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And then sometimes I try to interact with them by giving them things to read and then they writing their views on it to me. So when they read it and then they are writing their views and I'm reading it, I realize some of them, they write certain things that they go like, okay, it's not as though I'm not so sure of this or I don't know, but that is my point of view. Yeah. And sometimes it's clearly indicates that they don't really have so much knowledge in whatever they read. And so it makes it quite difficult if the person does not have so much knowledge and then you begin to add stuff up by saying all those unnecessary things on radio. Yes. Because they are learning. That's why it's a training process. Usually the training process of a man's life is during the teens. That's where they begin to pick up things, they begin to learn things, and then they become better. So during this training stage, if you do not train them with the right things and they give them the wrong things, I mean, you can just...
So usually they actually pick like informal stuff.
Exactly, pick a little from everywhere and then put them together.
Education never stops.
Never.
It never stops. It never stops.
True.
You might be in the church or a taxi. Someone might pass a comment. Someone might
even right here, we are still learning. You know?
So to sum it all up,
hold on, honey. As backward as I am, let me just chip in a little something.
Chip in.
You were trying to find out if the youth, we actually do know how to be discerning on this.
They have enough.
Enough knowledge. Personally, I think, you know, it goes all the way back to how we are raised.
And the kind of education.
No, I'm a backward person, so let's go with me. I think what I remember from growing up and what I've realized in our homes is we are mostly basically raised to be timid in a way. And how it affects how we're able to be discerning enough when we grow up and we have to actually find who we are in a certain information that is given to us is that if you are growing up in an environment where it's culture season and you have to go and audition for something that you want to be part of. And you know how you're raised at home, when you try to be even more vocal at home, how your mom you see, even though my mom thinks she's actually teaching me not to speak when adults are speaking, what she's doing is that she's putting an entire calabash on
you.
me finding myself.
Yeah.
How I express myself is how I find who I am.
Good.
So if at the end of the day, growing up as a child, I have to go up all the way up to, when did I get to? You know, I was like 17 when I went tertiary. So if I have to get all the way to 17 before I go out into a whole new world, before I learn how to begin to find myself, I'm already lost.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So I won't be able, if
I have a point there.
I'm exposed to a certain kind of information, like I watch a film where there is definitely a lot of sexual stuff,
Romance.
but then if you go back to actually find the synopsis behind the film, you find that the writer wrote it about a certain strong women going through certain things in life, and they're trying to battle that and still become successful.
Yeah.
How am I exactly going to identify myself with that aspect of the story,
Great.
and not just get blown away like a cotton by all the sexual stuff and the dressing stuff? You're not teaching me to actually delve deep into who I am, because you're putting a cover on me. It makes you uncomfortable that a child you are raising always likes to chip in when adults ask. If you don't like that stuff.
But you know, sometimes too, I also think that our parents believe, and they think that if they should allow us, you know, this kind of overdo.
It's not overdo. I think it's a fear.
No, because
Traditional
Just
African
imagine
parents are
if-
afraid of what their children can do.
Yeah.
Basically, what their children can teach them.
And with
So
the
they would
respect
rather
aspect
you
of it.
stay within a certain thing that they know they still have a certain authority as your parents.
Of course.
exactly.
And that is all
But-
usually wrong.
So do you think we should amend the kind of education that is done?
I think we should absolutely look at the way we raise our kids.
Because
At home, because that is what
Because there are certain things that I went through
As a child?
with my friends. There are certain things my friends would put me through that because I didn't learn from an early age how to express myself when you do something I don't like. I let it happen up to a certain point that it was like, you know how at first we used to tie this penny pure water.
Yeah.
When you really press it down and the
It becomes
plastic is really
transparent.
tight, then it poof, it comes out. I grew up to a certain level before I knew how to. I've had enough. That is it. Because I didn't get that upbringing where I was taught that if someone does something,
then
take what you've taken from it, but learn how to express yourself. Be expressive. We need to learn how to teach kids how to be expressive.
expressing.
It goes a long
Okay.
way to teach them how to identify who they are out of the nonsense information out there. That's what I think. That's what I have learned from my experience.
Great. So
All right, but if I can just chip in something, you know, there's this kind of story that I heard where there was this white kid who actually saw the mommy doing something and went like, "Mommy, why do you have to do this? I mean, I can't take this shit anymore." You know, and it was like a black kid saw it. And he was like, "Oh, that's normal. Let me try it with my parents."
You are dead.
So the mom was also doing something similar. And then he went like,
You see, at the end of the day, what a black kid should have taken
So-
was that child was learning how to be expressive and
Expressive.
tell what they don't like. He should have been discerning enough to recognize what language not to pick.
Exactly. So you see,
And
what I'm trying to come in is
Are these kids able to know that?
perfect.
No.
They are learning.
I had my mom is a very strict person, and I think I grew up timid. I'm not.
But most of us did.
most of us.
Even if your mom wasn't, there's someone in the
I'm not
family.
going to lie. I appreciate that. Because there are a lot of things I
things
didn't
you-
do
sure.
because I was scared of my mom. Even like way back, even before coming to understand the whole Christianity thing and wanting to live holy and all that, there were certain things I wouldn't try because I was scared of my mom.
don't think of it.
And I'm
I
grateful for
personally
all
would have
those
appreciated a little more freedom in my
I'm grateful for all those
expressiveness.
experiences.
Exactly.
I think sometimes parents are just looking out for us. They're just
Yeah.
looking for the best for us. They just want us to be our best.
Exactly.
That's why they try to they have seen the world. They know how the world operates. So they try to
You know that the world is also different for everybody.
Yeah.
Because
But then obviously
you are
no
raising
more.
me according to your experiences with maybe with work and with men and that blah 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 blah. It doesn't mean I'm going to have the same experience. Even if I get faced with the same way, if you had allowed me to find myself who I am growing up, I would have been able to find out how I want to deal with it. You dealt with it a certain way, it didn't work for you. Maybe if I had found how my approach could be different from yours, I could get different results, even if it was same questions. It's like simultaneous equation and the other one.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know so much. But basically, even the same question. Like you just say.
Thank you guys so much for
Oh,
coming. I've
thank
really
you.
enjoyed this
Today has really
conversation.
been fun.
I would really love to have you guys here again.
Sure.
I really love it. So Let's raise our glasses. And
Mine
say
is almost
cheers.
done.
Been chilling.
Cheers.
Oh, am I supposed to stand?
And thank you guys for staying
Boom.
We
for
can
this
stand.
time. We hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Bye.